It's 2024, and a couple of days ago, Puxatawny Phil did not see his shadow, which means we are now set for an early spring, and boy, do we need it. This is Les Solgrove with Simply Des Moines, and it is time for this week's market update. Let's get started. Hey there, welcome to the show. It is February 4th, and that means that we are finished with January, and that could also mean that it's time for us to go through and talk a little bit about what happened in the month of January in the Des Moines and Central Iowa real estate market. My name is Les Solgrove. I'm the proprietor here at DesMoinesMarketValues.com. Once a week, whether you like it or not, I'm here with a show about the Des Moines and Central Iowa real estate market and what's happened. So let's get started here. Um, this week is the new format of the end of month show. And so I hope if you have questions, you have any suggestions, be sure and leave them in the comments, either on social media or here on YouTube channel here. So what happened this past month? We had 675 homes newly listed into the marketplace this year. That's kind of a surprise considering we had such a crappy January, but we beat, last year we only had about 46 fewer homes were on the market a year ago in the month of January, and the weather was much better. So that's a persistent, it's a good sign of persistence with home sellers and their desire to get the houses ready to go on the market here. So this is the graphic for newly listed homes. And again, just so you review here, the column here is what happened in the current period, in this particular case, month of January. And the little dashes you'll see throughout today reflect what happened 1 year ago. And so as we move throughout the year, you'll be able to see not only what happened previous months throughout the current year, but also where we stand from last year, year over year. And occasionally, like today, you'll see some little mix-ups or mash-ups, I guess. It's not mix-ups, mash-ups of some of this type of a format where I've added a couple of extra graphics there. So this is kind of right on track with 675 homes on the market. This is pretty typical of what it looks like when we add homes to the market. It's a little lower at the beginning of the year, and you can see that looking back to 2021 and 2022, and as well as last year, we can see we're kind of right on that same track. The red one right here, that little spike right there, that's when COVID hit, where we had kind of a buildup just as COVID was coming on, and then COVID hit, and for a couple of months there, inventory dropped a lot as far as number of homes listed. Inventory actually was selling very, very well during that period as home buyers were trying to upgrade and work from home. So I kind of like to show this year over year stuff once in a great while, but for the most part, we're just going to look at 2024 versus last year. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to this one occasionally throughout the year. As far as sale pendings go, we actually had fewer homes accepted or fewer offers accepted in the month of January versus last year. 891, that's a little over 160 fewer sales in the month of January compared to a year ago. And, we probably have a good excuse as to what happened there. It was probably that snow. But you know what? Believe it or not, we've got some pretty decent numbers we're going to talk about today. That's those same two numbers, and this is another way of looking at that same data. We've got newly listed and newly pended on a side-by-side scale, so we'll kind of get an idea each month, not really looking back year over year, but just looking at how the two metrics compare to each other there. 675 again for the newly listed and 891 for the newly pended. Price point and activity. What I do also is I break that same information down by price points, and what you can see is that $300,000 to $400,000 price point is where the bulk of the home sale inventory, for sale inventory comes in, and the sale pendings is that $200,000 to $300,000 price point, which kind of makes sense. We're seeing that obviously the lower price points are where we like to see that inventory kind of build as we start the year, and I think we'll see those numbers kind of increase as we move through 2024. As far as closed sales, this again, we believe it or not, as of as of January 31st, we had almost 600 sales in the books closed for January, and that was just a little bit above what we did last year at the same time. Closed sales are a result of previous month activity. So November and December of last year, as well as maybe some new construction that kind of was tagging along, is what kind of helped boost that. And you can see that typically we see a pretty good jump in March, which means that January and February business starts to pick up and closed sales start to peak. And in fact, June is typically our highest closed month of the year. And last year we had just over 1,400 closings in that month of June. So we've got a ways to go to hit that, but it's a nice trek to see that we're ahead of that already. And if we want to look at this from the weekly standpoint, it shows we're right on track with 2023. So as of today, remember we had, let's go back, we had 598 as of January 31st, and another 100 and some came on the books from that point forward. So some closed sales that happened after January 31st weren't recorded on that last day of the month, and therefore they kind of get caught up here in the weekly report. So that's why you see more closed sales, and it also shows you right down here, shows you that we're right on track with last year. The black bar again is last year's numbers, and we are. I don't know if I could zoom in on that just a little bit. I can't tonight, but if I did, you could barely see a little sliver of red above that dash, which means we're right on track. And I would like to see us outpace that as we move forward into 2024 here. As far as pricing goes, this is a nice chart here this time. This is an updated chart. This one not only has the year over year median sale prices, but it also tracks the days on market for the end of the month. So we'll be able to kind of see a dual chart here on this one. So sales were up, pricing was up almost 3.5% year over year, which was a little over 8,900 or right at $8,900 more on the median sale price as we move into January. Some of that again was probably due to December and last quarter new construction sales. That's why we typically see that higher, because you see what happens in February. December sales and early January sales that close very quickly, the prices are a little bit lower. And I wouldn't be surprised if we moved into the end of next month or end of this month and end of February, and we would see a lower median sale price, which is pretty typical. And then it kind of takes off for the year there. So as far as months of inventory, since we're talking about new construction, we're back to get my big head out of the way. We're back to the 0 to 4 months is a seller's market now. 4 to 6 months is a balanced market, and 6+ months is a buyer's market. And that's kind of the path we're going to be on this year. We're going to stick now back to the original breakdown of those categories. Again, as you notice, anything under $400,000 is still considered a seller's market in our marketplace, and that's been pretty typical throughout most of the year last year. Don't expect that to change much this year. It is kind of a surprise here that we've got that $500,000 to $800,000 price point is right now currently in a buyer's market. So if you're looking in that upper price point above the $500,000 price point, jump in there and see if you can make some deals, because you're kind of in control when it's a buyer's market. There's more inventory than there are buyers, and sometimes there's a little bit more negotiation room there on that. The blue ones are the balanced markets, and those are kind of typical of what we would like to see in all markets, is a balanced market where there's enough inventory for home buyers to be able to buy and home sellers not staying on the market that long. So again, what months of inventory represents is the amount of time it would take to sell out of all the inventory in that particular price range. So let's look at that $400,000 to $500,000 price point. It just simply means that at the current pace of sales, it would take just a little over 4 months for us to sell all the homes we have for sale in that $400,000 to $500,000 price point. And you can see down in that $100,000 to $200,000 price point, that's our fastest paced category at just over a month. So about just almost a month and a half to sell all the homes in that price point if no new homes come on. Now, obviously, stuff comes on every single day, and we really never ever run out of inventory, although we do get kind of close in that under $100,000 price point. So as far as price increases and price reductions, this is a new view for the month review of these two categories. I've combined them, and it's kind of a hybrid. And you're going to look at this and you're going to go, okay, what's going on here? The blue column is price reductions. So we had 650 price reductions so far in the month of January, and we had 97 price increases in the month of January. And then the little ticks right here, maybe it's hard to see on the screen, but these are purple to match the price increases. So we are below price increases for last year, and we're just barely below price reductions for January. And you can kind of see what happens throughout the rest of the year as we get near the end of the year. October seems to be the biggest month for price reductions, and where we had 1,600 homes in the month of October last year had a price correction or a price improvement or a price reduction, however you want to call it. Prices changed in those categories. Last graphic today, this is the back on market by month, and it also shows the percentage. If you remember last year, we were averaging 24% across the board all year long. So we're below last year's average, currently sitting at 22 months of, 22 months, 22% of homes were on the market that fell apart. So whether it was a home inspection, it was, maybe appraisal issues, maybe buyer's remorse, whatever it is, about 1 in 5 home sales were returned to the market, which is an opportunity for home buyers. That's why I say it's an opportunity. You always got to be out there looking at, if you missed a house, keep in mind that there's a 1 in 5 chance, at least in January, that you would have seen that house come back on the market. So and there's some advantages to that. Sometimes it's negotiations from home inspection issues, or buyers got cold feet. The home sellers had, mentally and physically decided they were going to sell. They might be a little easier to negotiate with, and maybe you get some issues corrected that were discovered on a home inspection if there was a home inspection fall apart. Home sellers typically go ahead and fix those items. It's just the home buyers just maybe don't feel like they want to continue. So again, there's always opportunities out there for home buyers. So all right, well, that's the show this week. I'm going to get my big head out of there again. This is just a reminder there. While this screen is up, you can pull your camera out or pause the video, and that'll take you right to the YouTube channel. Be sure and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps the analytics help the show be found in other markets and other places across the internet. And also the reminder is the 2023 State of the Market Annual Report was out last week. It will remain on its own category there under the Annual State of the Market button right here. The graphics for this week's show, as well as all the graphics for previous shows going back to when I started this whole process back in 2019. I was just going to say 2009, 2019, 2020. All the graphics are there for that. So be sure and do some digging. There was I think over 800 some graphics for 2023 in one section last week. So you want to basically go in there and spend some time just kind of digging. And it's pretty well labeled. The review show was a little over an hour, and I've got it also chunked down with jump in points here. So all right, well, with that, that's the end of the show. Thanks again for joining me. Get out there as the weather gets better. 2024, I think, is going to be a very, very good year for real estate, home buyers and home sellers alike, as long as mortgage interest rates continue to either stabilize and or drop a little bit. That's all the best news for us. So with that, we'll talk to you all again next week, and thanks for joining me.